It's cute. It's Christmas. Okay, ready?
It's Christmas time.
It's Christmas time.
What are we doing?
Today,
Yep.
my video is with my dad. This is my dad. You have probably seen him before if you watch my channel.
I started in the episode Things in My Grandma's House.
Yes, and he has rewatched it many times since then as well. So, my dad is a pastor. A couple days ago on my Instagram story, I put out a question asking you for questions to ask my dad about Christmas time.
Yay.
So, here we go. I have them written down here.
Okay.
Be ready.
I'll do my best.
Okay, so the first one is, what do you think about secular Christmas stuff, and does our family incorporate any of it? An example was like Santa Claus.
Okay, so I'm super happy with a lot of things of secular Christmas, and this is only my own personal opinion. It doesn't reflect the opinions of, because I'm an Anglican priest, so it doesn't reflect the opinions of Anglicanism as a whole. You'll find many different viewpoints on this. But, so I guess there's a few different parts of secular Christmas that we could talk about, but because we don't want the video to go a million hours, I'll just pick a couple. So first of all, Santa Claus. Some Christians have a big beef challenge issue with that because like, hey, that steals away from the story of Christ. But so what we do, we actually celebrate St. Nicholas Day, the feast day of St. Nicholas, from where we get Santa Claus, is December 6th. So December 5 in the evenings when you celebrate that. So we always talk about the real story of a bishop, a early church leader in the 4th century named St. Nicholas. And we like to talk about the story of how he helped the poor and how he stood for the truth. And from there, then we can say, hey, now, today, we have this figure who has a red suit with white trim and comes down chimneys and eats cookies and leaves toys and stuff. Okay, fine, we're happy to tell those stories because we just see it as folk tales that came from a true historical figure that we respect. So why not have a few fun folk tales? I mean, I hope in 150 years that there'll be a folk tale about me, but more than likely not. But we might. The other thing would be like, okay, Christmas trees, right? Again, some Christians are like, oh, Christmas trees, that has nothing to do with Christianity, and then other people say, well, no, it does, and they try to give the Christian Christmas tree like loads of Christian meaning and Christian symbolism, and but again, it's just something that came from culture that was not a part of Christian culture, and Christian culture adapted it, and used it. So this is one of the things, again, where if I go to the mall or I'm out and about driving around on the streets, even here in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, people put up Christmas trees, and they might not have any idea what it means, but I love it. It's exciting and it's fascinating. The other fun thing, for me as a pastor speaking as a Christian, I'm not trying to convince you to become a Christian, of course, but speaking as a Christian, is that, like for example, today I was at the mall here in Phnom Penh. I walked by and there's a song, it's a song about Jesus. It's the only time of the year in secular society that the world hears about the message of Jesus if they slow down enough to listen to the songs that are playing over the intercom. So even if you're not a Christian, I think that would be important because even if you're not a Christian, you still should have some idea of who Jesus claimed to be, just because the bulk of Western civilization is based upon Judeo-Christian history. So, and our ethics and our set of morals all come from that root. So at any rate, yeah, so I'm fine with a lot of secular things of Christmas. Not a problem for me personally. In fact, I think maybe it's good. So,
what's some of the Christian meaning that people try to put on Christmas trees?
Okay, so like the tree, it's evergreen, right? Normally for a Christmas tree, you use a tree that's evergreen, right? So that's a symbol of eternal life, spiritual life, never dies, right? Jesus came, and so we look at the Christmas tree and we see that it's evergreen, a tree that's green all year round. We think of a tree that's like really rooted and never fades and full of life. So that's would be one example. The lights on the Christmas tree, of course, you can connect to Jesus said Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness." There's that aspect of it, and so there's many other different things we could talk about, but those are kind of two big ones that I heard growing up and that are pretty common in Christian culture.
Okay.
But we never raised Bryn and cited with that kind of stuff.
No.
We didn't need to like explain the meaning. We just thought, hey, we put this tree up, we put some things on it. It's a part of our doing something different and fun and anticipatory for celebrating God who became one of us to meet us where we are, love us, care for us, bring us back to the Father. So, okay.
Okay. The next one is, what's the latest you stayed up on Christmas Eve for a service?
Oh, for a service or as a child?
No, for a service.
For a service. Well, it would be 1:45 a.m. because I went to a church service in 2016 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It started at midnight on December 24th. Well, actually, so December 25th. So I left the house December 24th. I arrived December 25th at midnight, and then the service didn't get over till about 1:30. It took me 15 minutes to get home. Now, that's not a service I led, just one I attended. But ones I've led, we've done 2 11 o'clock services here in Phnom Penh in my 7 years here as a pastor. And by the time it's all said and done, cleaned up, and then back home, it's around 1 o'clock. Both of those times. But I love that because in the Christian calendar, which comes from the Jewish calendar, the day actually starts when the sun sets. When the sun sets, that's the beginning of the next day in terms of celebrating that season. So when do we begin to celebrate Christmas? At sundown on December 24. Why is that? Because it says in Genesis 1, whether you interpret it literally or allegorically, it doesn't matter. The point is, the day, it says that God created the heavens and the earth and so forth and so on, and they said an evening and the morning was the first day. Evening and morning was the second day. Evening and morning was the first day, because everything started in darkness, and God said, let there be light. So it started with dark and then light, dark then light, dark then light. From darkness to light is how God organizes a day in His mind, and that's how we follow it then in the calendar. Yeah.
That kind of makes more sense then as to why midnight is the start of the day, because a lot of people complain about it makes no sense. Like it should be closer to when people get up, but that makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from what I just said, but it's also a concession to modernity that because in those days, in the time of Jesus, then sundown was the beginning. That was starting to get into the first and second and third hours and so forth. So yeah. All right.
Okay, next one is a favorite Christmas pun.
Oh man, I love that question, but I don't even think I know a Christmas pun.
Do you think you can make one up?
Let's think about that a second. Wow, I can't. I'm sorry. No Christmas pun this year. That'll have to be let me ask you these questions before you record kind of a question. Yes. Everything else I didn't know until just now.
Well,
First time I'm hearing these questions. Christmas pun.
I'll have to have you back next year, and then you can give us a Christmas pun.
In lieu of a Christmas pun, you can just try to memorize as many quotes as you can from the movie called Elf. And maybe upload your responses to this video. Okay.
Okay. Here's another historical one. How/why did the church decide to celebrate the birth of Jesus at the end of the calendar year instead of when he was assumed to be born? You know how a lot of people say July, June, kind of.
Sure. Yeah, so all the historical arguments about actually when was Jesus born exactly, there really isn't lots and lots of more weight that he was born in June, July versus December. So, and then there's another kind of historically inaccurate thing where people say, oh, December 25th was chosen because that's when certain Roman god was celebrated, so Christians wanted to replace that pagan holiday with a Christian holiday, and so that's why December 25th was chosen. But then come to find out that's just based on scant information, but it really grew and became popular because it was really hip to attack Christianity with those kind of arguments in that day. And I don't mind it. I don't mind people asking questions about the faith and even questioning, well, why this, why that? That doesn't make sense. So that's not the point. But the point is, if you're going to make an argument, make it a good argument instead of a bad one, instead of a lame one. So at any rate, why did they choose it? They chose it because that was the best estimation that they had and that they could come up with. And so there's that aspect of it. The other aspect of it is it's the darkest time of the year. And so there's this theme of Jesus as the light of the world. There's Jesus as a theme of new birth coming into a land that was dark and empty. So in Isaiah there's a passage that says the people who are walking in darkness have seen a great light. It's pointing forward to Jesus. Then when it's quoted in the New Testament, it's actually quoted as the people who are sitting in darkness have seen a great light. So maybe they went from walking to sitting. Maybe they get tired of being in the darkness. But the point is darkness is symbolic of, metaphorical of, a world that's broken, a world that's fallen, a world that's kind of stuck in a place without sight, a world that cannot see clearly, to love one another, to care for one another, to walk deeply and closely with one another. So the world was in desperate need to come out of that darkness. And so God being God, he didn't just say, okay, let there be light and like blind us all with his presence, with like overwhelming amount of the glory of God, where so much light blinds us and we are not able to take it in, not able to receive it, not able to understand it. Instead, he sends, kind of packages his light in the form of a small little baby human being. So this little, all the bright glory of heaven gets packaged inside of the body of Jesus, and then enters into the world. So the light enters into the darkness. Healing enters into the sickness. Wholeness and restoration enters into what's broken. So that's the dark light theme for the reason of December 25 also. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Then the next one.
Winter solstice. Yeah. Go ahead.
The next question, also historical. What was the normal, culturally appropriate response to a teenage girl who was unwed and pregnant in the time of Mary?
Well, according to law, there would be could be as severe as being stoned to death. But there's a lot of evidence that that was not widely practiced, and especially at that time. So there could have been multiple responses. Like today, it would have been dependent upon what was the family culture like, what was the wider religious community like, because not all religious communities were the same in Jesus' day. It wasn't uniform. In fact, there were lots of different groups and different responses to things, not just theologically, but also different responses to moral issues. So it's hard to really say, because I don't know exactly what grouping she would have been a part of, would have been connected with. But we can definitely say that would not have been as gracious as what we might have today. Maybe gracious isn't the right word. It wouldn't have been acceptable by any stretch of the imagination. And I can imagine that most people would have been quite harsh towards her and hard towards her in that situation.
Yeah.
Had Joseph not, betrothed her and married her. Yeah.
That is kind of an interesting thing, is that I feel like even now where like sexual promiscuity is kind of becoming more accepted and normalized, like I feel like there is still a lot of a teenage girl being pregnant is still like very much
Like a stigma?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
but
so.
That's one thing that's really stayed.
Sure. Sometimes, and then the stigma for that in modernity would be rooted in many different things. Like for some, it's like we're a respectable family, you know, or you know, or, people look up to us, or we have a business that we don't want this to affect. So it could be economic reasons, in terms, it could be cultural perceptions of how the family wants to or doesn't want to be seen, and those types of things. Might not just be straight out morality, you know, like a set of ethics that's based on something deeper than human pride. So, but yes, I agree. There's lots of reasons why it could still be stigmatized, although they might not be the same as what they were at that time.
For sure,
maybe
probably.
Maybe there's a decent overlap, but probably some differences too.
Yeah, I think now it's a lot more. They're less of like societal outcasts. It's just like on the day-to-day you get treated differently.
Exactly.
Like I saw a video one time where it was like a grown-up woman and a teenager both like pretended to be pregnant, like they were pregnancy bellies and stuff, and went around to different shops and stuff doing shopping and like to see how people treated them. Yeah, so that was really interesting. But yeah, definitely much different than like overall society shunning kind of thing.
Wow. Good study. Good idea they did that.
Okay, now the next two are a little more just chill and fun. Two would you rather this or that kind of questions. Okay, so first one is Christmas or Easter?
Oh man, I still debate this in my own heart and mind every single year because I love Christmas for many reasons. A lot of the reasons a lot of people do, the lights, the quiet evenings. Of course, in our home we do Advent devotions, the season that prepares and leads up to Christmas, and and we bake different things, and the celebrations for preparing and then for Christmas itself I love. And also I love Christmas because when I was young I had some really profound encounters with God leading up to Christmas and on Christmas Day as well. December 24 and December 25, I have a handful of memories that were really significant for me and God meeting me. So I'm gonna have to go with Christmas, although I mean I love Holy Week, the week that leads up to Easter, with all the services that we do, and the way in which God really connects profoundly with so many people through those services. But for me personally, I mean, if I had to choose one or the other, since this game's called Either or Would You Rather, or
this or that, I think is a common
this or that. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's that.
Christmas?
Is Christmas that?
No, Christmas, because it was Christmas or Easter.
Oh, okay.
This or that, so this.
This.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the other one.
I choose this.
Then the other one is Christmas Eve or Christmas Day service.
Oh, Christmas Eve service, for sure. In fact, even in our, we've never done a Christmas Day service here because another church does a Christmas Day service, and we do a Christmas Eve service and the others don't. So I always encourage people, go to the Christmas Day service at that church, and if you're open to it and available, come to our service Christmas Eve. And I just love Christmas Eve. Again, the darkness that you worship God in that dark place, Christmas Eve in the night, with a focus of the next morning having the full light of day come, the birth of Christ. Is that, wait, which was this and which was that?
Christmas Eve was this, Christmas Day was that.
This again?
This.
Okay, this times 2.
Yes. Okay, then my last one is, what's the best or worst or just generally noteworthy gift you've received for Christmas, like from someone in your congregation?
Oh, from someone in my congregation?
Yeah, not like family.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I've received gifts from people who are friends, but not in the congregation. So let's exclude that since
it's from your role as a pastor.
My role as a pastor. Well, this will sound really funny because the gift in and of itself was not, it's kind of normal, kind of whatever. But the fact that the person bought it for me and went to the trouble of taking time out to buy it, was really significant. So it was a pair of just black dress socks, 2 pair. And when I pastored a small house church in Israel, it was in English because it was in an international context. So it was an international church in a house church kind of a setting. And so we had people from many different nations, even though the church was only small, 30 or less people. And but there was a Korean guy, Korean named David. And yeah, I just had a strong connection with David, and we just had some really great talks and really long walks where we just shared deeply with one another. When Bryn and Saida, her sister, her older sister, were young, we lived there. So after they were in bed, and Heidi, who was studying medicine at the time, was studying, and they're in bed, then I could go out and walk with David. And so it just really meant a lot to me that one Christmas, he just decided he was going to buy me some presents, and he just tried to think of the most practical thing, and the thing that I had talked about, because in the winters in Israel, it gets cold because you don't have normal, you have space heaters, and it can get down into the 50s, which I don't know what that is in Celsius. What, 12 or something, maybe?
Somewhere in there.
12 or 13. And so I always talk about, how much I love warm socks. Blah 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 socks. Blah 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 warm socks. Blah blah blah. Wish I had more warm socks. Blah blah. So he surprised me with 2 pair of really nice, thick black dress socks, which is my favorite thing to wear. Not here. Here I wear thin black dress socks. There I wear thick black dress. Yeah. So yeah, that's great. It's a really good memory, and odd in some senses that stuck out. But it's about the bond and the connection that David and I had. Yeah. And they're supporters of us still to this day here with our work, because that would have been Christmas of 2007. Christmas of 2007 is when he would have bought me those. So, yeah.
Do you still have them?
No,
Yeah,
because
that's like 13-year-old socks now.
Yeah, I have some clothes that are 13, 15, 20 years old still that I wear, but not many. Not many. I think one shirt. I have a shirt from 2009 that I still wear. No holes, nothing. Good.
Good job, Dad.
Good maker, I guess. But yeah, so yeah, I guess I'm due for some socks for a present. Not really. Actually, I have enough for now. So.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
well,
Wow.
that's it.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
interview. Did I get hired?
Yes. Yeah.
Stressful. Not really. So good to be with you guys as a guest.
Yes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye.